Okay, before we get started, I wanted to show you where to find this. So if you go into your content library here, this is in Big Ideas, Spyro 2 Big Ideas. Now this here, shrink that up for you, right? This is everything I just did here, and will be on yours. That's looking into the future, right? Then there's a different answer key if you don't want it so spirally. And here is your spiral test, and here is the solutions down here with a little more explanation. Okay. If you want to rewatch the video, you can Google September 25th, September 25, period 2. Okay. Okay, so we're getting ready for the Spyro 2 test. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over the typical example, then we'll pause the video, and then you do the try my own. Then when the class is done, try my own, you'll play the video, I'll go through the answer, then we'll go on to the next one. Okay? And we're going to look to get done. How many of these? We're going to look to get done about 7 of these today. Okay? So, here we go. So, Ferd's back. So, Ferd purchases a sweater that is on sale. He pays this price, including 13% tax. If the discount on the sweater is 20%, what is the original price of the sweater? So, if we think about it, when we do tax, we times the price by 1.13. But we want to go backwards. So we're going to use divide. And this is going to be my symbol for divide today. Yeah, that's going to be my symbol for divide by 1.13. And that is going to equal 2272. If I can alter that, 2272. So the price before tax is 2272. Now we know that price was the price with the 20% discount, right? So to do the 20% discount, we would have times it by either 0.8 to get the price, or times it by 0.2, then added that to the original price. But since we want to go backwards, we're going to go and times it by 1.2. So as in 20% discount plus the original price. And this will give us the price before the discount was put on. So that means the original price of the sweater was $27.30. So therefore, price of the sweater was $27.30. Okay. So if we look back here, to go backwards, instead of doing times, we're doing divide, right? So we're dividing it by 1.13 to get back to the price before the sales tax. Then, instead of timesing it by 0.2 to find how much was taken off, we times by 1.2 to find, to put back on that 20%. That 1 in both of these questions just keeps the original price there and then either adds or takes it off. Okay? Because we could have done divide by 0.13, then subtracted that number off of the original total. But this just takes away that one step. So whoever's in charge of the video right now, if you can pause it, and the class with your partner attempt to do this question here. Okay, so we're back. So Ferd's record collection increases in value by 15% each year. If the current value of the record collection is $435, what was the value last year? So this looks a lot like our question back here. We're going back in time, right? If I told you what's the value next year, you would multiply by 1.15. But in this case, we are going to divide by 1.15. So our original cost is 435, and then we're going to divide by 1.15, and that is going to equal 378.26. Right? So then, to get full communication marks, right, we write, therefore, the record collection was worth 378.26 1 year ago. All right, back down here. So that's an example of percent questions. Now we're doing exponent law. Now mine are not as nicely written as yours, my photocopy. So we have AB to the power of, let's draw this in here, 3, a to the 2, and this is to the 4, 2, 5, and 7. And 7. Okay. So with any question like this, I want you to do of course, BEDMAS. We're going to do brackets first, exponents, everything like that. But also do the top first and do the bottom before you do this division part. Okay? So let's do the top here. The first thing that needs to happen is we need to take care of this exponent, slash bracket. So we have a power to the power, so we're going to take this power in to both spots here. Right? And a power to the power you multiply. So right now I have a to the 1, I'll put a 1 there, b to the 3, then I'll leave the bracket here because it's going to be multiply. 4 times 2 is going to be a to the 8. 4 times 1 is going to be b to the 4. Right? And then on the bottom here, there's only one b down here, so you know it's going to be b to the 7. But we have two a's, and they're multiply. A2 times A5, and we're going to add those up. So that's going to equal a to the 7. Now let's continue up high here, right? So we have a multiply. So multiply is addition. So let's look at the a's. We have 1 and 8 here, and they're going to add up to 9. And we have 3 and 4, and those are going to add up to 7. And I still have my A7, B7. Then we have a division, and divisions are subtracting. So right now we have A9, A7, so 9 minus 7 is going to be A squared. And we have b to the 7, b to the 7, so 7 minus 7 is going to be equal b to the 0. And anything to the power of 0 equals 1. Right? Now we don't have to leave that in there because anything times 1 is itself, so a squared times 1 is just going to be a squared. So whoever's in charge of the video, pause the video, and we'll get started on this one when everyone is done. I'm just going to fix this right now. So this question looks very familiar, just like the one previous. So let's take a look at the brackets here first. So it's exponent, so it's a power of a power. So we're going to rainbow in here. Now we're left with, out front here, we have x squared. Let's make that a full x, y. And let's have our bracket here. Power of power is a multiplication again. So 2 times 2 is x4. 2 times 1 is y2. All over, oh, I was going to make a different number. Let's make an x out of that. And y. Now we have multiplication here again. So we're going to add this up. So x squared plus x squared times x4 is going to be x to the 6. And y to the 1 and y to the 2 is going to be y3. And we still have x cubed and y down here. Now we have division, which is subtracting. So 6 minus 3 is going to be 3. And 3 minus 1 is going to be 2. And like that, we have the final answer. So, expanding. So we have to expand this bracket. So we're going to rainbow in this. And the key thing to remember here is that numbers times numbers, letters times letters. Okay? So if we start here, 4 times 3 is going to be 12. Now again, we have multiplication of a base with an exponent. So we just did multiplication up here. We add them. So it's going to be x, and 2 plus 2 is going to be 4. Now 4 times negative 5 minus 20. There's a 1 there. Add the exponents. x2 plus x1 is going to be x to the 3. Then we have 4 times 1. We have 4. Now there's no x here. So we're just going to bring over this x squared. So there's nothing to add it to. The x squares stay the same. Let's take a peek if we have to collect like terms. These are all different bases. So all have x's with different exponents. So there's no like terms to be collected. So we're all done. So pause her up, and then you can do this, and we'll take it up in a couple seconds. So we're looking here, numbers times numbers, letters times letters, and we're going to rainbow in. The key to remember here is we have a number in front of here. It's not written down, so it's implied to be a 1. So 1 times 3, 3. m4 times m squared. We're going to add those exponents. So we're going to have m to the 6. 1 times negative 2 minus 2. m4 times m. I'll put a 1 there to remind us. 4 plus 1 is going to be m5. 1 times 8. Oh, 1 times negative 8 is 8. And then m4, there's nothing there, so we're just going to continue that this way. And away we go. No like terms, since all the exponents are different. So that's our final answer. All right. So we need to show that x is equal to negative 9. All right. So we're going to go left side versus right side here. So I'm going to draw a line straight down the middle. And we're going to figure out what the left side versus right side is. So I'm going to go 2, and where the x is, let's just do this up first. Minus 8. So where the x is, that's where I'm going to put the negative 9. Alright. So 2 times negative 9 is going to be negative 18 minus 8, and that is going to equal negative 26. Remember, a negative and a negative, it's not multiplication here, so a negative is going to get more negative when you minus more off it. So my left side is going to equal, let's go LS for left side, is going to equal negative 26. So if this answer is correct, as in the answer is negative 9, this opposite side should be the same. So xi, plus 1. Okay, oops, that's times 1, plus 1. Then we're going to substitute in that negative 9, plus 1. 3 times negative 9 is going to be negative 27, plus 1 equals negative 26. So since we have the left side equal the right side, we know that, instead of writing therefore and having you guys watch me every time, I'm just going to go TF. So we have left side equals right side. Therefore, x equals negative 9. So we know that. So pause the video. When everyone's done, we'll check this out. I'll give you a hint first. Draw that line. Okay, pause it now. So, here we go. Let's make that smaller so it doesn't interfere with me. So we have the left side is 4x minus 5. And x, they say, is negative 8. So let's test her out. So 4 times 8 minus 5. 4 times 8 is going to be 28 minus 5. And that's going to equal 23. So let's take a peek and see if our left side's actually going to equal our right side. So we have 2x plus 11. I should say right side here, so we have it down. Then we have 2 times 8 plus 11. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 11. So our answer is going to be, let's press equal and let the computer do it. 27. So therefore, left side equals right side. Therefore, x is equaling 8. All right, so let's go down to the next question. All right, now we have to solve for the variable here. Okay, solve for the variable, yeah. So, 2 bracket x minus 4 over 3 equals negative 4 bracket x plus 2. So first thing I'd like to do is get rid of these denominators, right? So how do we do that? Well, it's a division, the easy way to get rid of it is multiply the top by the denominator. Multiply the whole thing by denominator, right? So if I multiply this by 3, that's going to end up being 3 divided by 3, right? Which will just cancel out and create a 1. So we've got rid of this, but we can't do something on the one side without doing the other side. So let's multiply this side by 3. All right, and then we want to get rid of this 5, so let's multiply this side by 5. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. Those are going to cancel out, but I have to do it to the other side. So that leaves me with 5 outside of 2 bracket x minus 4, and I gotta do double brackets there, which therefore equals, I'll bring that 3 over because that's where we usually see it, negative 4 bracket x plus 1. So what I usually like to do here, makes it a little simpler for me, is I'll take these in, I'll rainbow this in here, right? Now I only rainbow to the bracket it's beside here, right? So it's going to be 5 times 2. It's not 5 times 2 and then also 5 times x and 5 times negative 4. This here is only going into this spot here. I can't jump a bracket. So that leaves me with 5 times 2 is going to be 10 outside of x minus 4, which equals 3 times negative 4 is going to be negative 12, bracket x plus 1. So now I'm here. So then we're going to bracket again. Rainbow in again. Rainbow slash distribute. We're going to distribute the 10 and negative 12 throughout the brackets. So 10 times, if we remember here, there's a 1 in front of these, right? So 10 times x is going to equal 10x minus 10 times 4, which is going to be 40, equals negative 12 times x is going to be negative 12x minus 12. Now, I have to isolate the x's, the variables on one side, numbers on the other side. So I like to leave the biggest variable to its side. So that's the 10. So we're going to bring this over here, and we're going to bring the 40 over this side. Right? Variables on one side, numbers on the other side. So that's going to equal, let's leave the 10x over here, that was already over here. So we have 10x. Now it's a negative 12 right now here. So when it comes over, it's going to be a plus 12x equals, and I already have the negative 12 over here, so I'm going to put negative 12. Now this was a negative on this side, so it's going to become a positive. So 10x plus 12x, that's going to equal 22x equals 40 minus 12 is going to be 28. Positive 28. Now, I need to get rid of this 22. I just want x all by itself. So right now it's 22 times x. So how I get rid of that is I'm going to divide this side by 22 and this side by 22, which will leave me, these are going to cancel out, which will leave me at x equals 28 over 22. Now I can always reduce this, right? So if I take a look and I say, okay, 2 goes into both of those, or I can make it a mixed fraction. So I know I'm going to have 1, and so if I take 22 off of it, I'm going to have 6 over 22 left, which then I can even reduce more to get 1 and, oops, got an equal sign. Now 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 22 11 times. So there's my most reduced fraction possible. Okay. Or I could also answer if I want to leave it as improper. Let's see if I can get a line up here. I'll go down 1. You can go x equals 14 over 11. So there's 2 possible answers here in reduced form. So slide over, away you go. So hopefully you pause the video. I forgot to tell you. If not, pause it now. So we need to get rid of the denominators. So we times it by whatever the denominator is on this side. We multiply this side by that. Those cancel out. Whatever we need to do to one side, we do to the other. Now this side here, we need to get rid of this. So we're going to multiply this side by 2, which will cancel out. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And then we're left with a 2 over here. So let's change this font a little bit so it's a little bit smaller so we can fit more in. So right now we have 2 bracket 2 bracket 2x minus 1 equals 5 bracket negative 3 bracket x minus 2. Double bracket there, and I forgot a double bracket there. You guys can all calm down about getting a buff because I caught my air. So, where'd my mouse go? We rainbow in here. We rainbow in here, which will give us 4 bracket 2x minus 1 equals negative 15 bracket x minus 2. And then we rainbow in again. Rainbow in, rainbow in, rainbow in, rainbow in. Okay. So that will give us 8x minus 4 equals, oops, negative 15x. Negative times the negative is going to be a positive 30. Now this is my big X over here, so we're moving this way. We're going to move this over here. So I like to write down what's already over there. So 8x is already over there, and then we're going to bring over the negative 15, so it's going to become positive. And then we have the 30, which is already over here, and we're bringing over the 4, which was negative, so it's going to turn positive. Now if we put those together, we're going to have 23x equal to 34. And then we have to divide to get rid of this. Divide this by 23. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Those are going to cancel, and I'm left with gotta go one down here. X equals 34 over 23. Now we can't reduce that any further. Now, if I'm going too quick, of course, pause it before. So now we have here, we're on to some measurement. So a cone has a volume of 300 centimeters cubed and a height of 15. Find the radius. So what I like to do with these questions is I write down what I know. Right, so I know the volume equals 300. For right now, I'm not going to include the measurement totals because I've run into the different questions. So height is equal to 15. If we take a look at my formula is, for a cone, volume equals pi r squared times height divided by 3. Okay? Divided by 3. So the only thing I'm missing here is radius, and that's what I need to find out. So radius is my question mark. So let's rearrange this formula so I just get radius all by itself. So the first thing I need to do, and I'll change colors here, is I need to get rid of this 3. Now this 3 right now is a divide. So to get rid of a divide, I make it a multiply. Multiply this side, looks very familiar. That's going to cancel out. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Right? So now I have 3v equals pi r squared times height. Now to get the r by itself, I need to get rid of here and here. So let me divide, because those are all multiplied. It's pi times r squared times h. So let me divide this here. And those are going to cancel out, but I can't do one side if I don't do the other. Pi h. Good. So I have now 3v pi h equals r squared. I'm going to leave that r squared up there for right now, and I'm going to plug in everything I know. Let's go back to red here. So what do I know? 3 is just a number. I'm going to times by 300 because that's my volume. Then my pi is pi. I'm not going to write out the whole thing. And h is 15. So times 15. Right? Equals r squared. Now, if I take a peek at that, if I do that math here, if I plug that in my calculator, I'm going to get 19 approximately, right? So, but I don't have r yet. I have r squared. So what's the opposite of a square? Is I'm going to take the square root of both sides, right? And the square root of r squared is going to be r, and the square root of 19 is going to be 4.4, and that would be centimeters. And for those paying attention, on Monday or on Tuesday when I see you, if you can tell me what centimeters cubed is also equal to, there'll be a boff in it for you. All right, so therefore, my value of r is 4.4. So pause it here, and away you go to find this. So a cylinder has a base of 200, a volume of 250. Let's go volume equals 250. And a height equaled 18. So let's write out my formula for a cylinder. Volume equals pi r squared h. Now I'm looking for my radius, right? That's what I'm looking for. So let's isolate r. So right now I have pi times r squared times h. These are multiplications, so to get rid of them, we need to do the opposite, which is divide. And what we do to one side, we do to the other side. Cancel out, cancel out. So now we have v over pi h equals r squared. So let's plug in what we know. We know that's 250. We know this is pi times 18 equals r squared. Now if we plug all that into a calculator, we get r squared equals 4.4. Of course, I'm just going to one decimal place or so because my writing is messy already. Now we have r squared. So to get rid of that r squared, the opposite of a square is a square root. We take the square root of both sides. And that will give me my square root of r squared is r equals 2.1. And that's going to be centimeters. So now we turn from volume to surface area. All right. So here we have a triangular prism. All right. So you should be looking at your Notes to Your Future Self, or the formula sheet that I gave you. And actually I took it away, so don't look at that unless you stole it from me. And if we take a look at our formula sheet, the equation looks like this. Okay, don't fall asleep on me as I do this. SA equals AH plus... Actually, let's not do that. I want you to think about it logically here. What I want you to do is you unfold this to make a shape. Right? So we're going to unfold this shape. It's going to look like this, this. There we go. Beautiful. Now let's take a look at what we know. We know this is 15 from right here. We know the height here is 12. And we know this base here is 10. What we don't know is this part right here. These sides. Okay? Which would be this side and this side. Right? We don't know those. Because if we look here, if we find the area of this rectangle, that rectangle, and add up these two triangles, we know that's going to be our surface area, right? But we don't know this part and this part. But if we look here, this draws a horrible way with, let's try that again. That did not work with that pen. Let's use the marker. We'll use blue. This here makes a right angle triangle, right? So if we have a triangle here, a right angle triangle, where we know the height is 12, and the base all the way across is 10, right? So the whole base is 10, so half of that is going to be 5. Now we'd also label this as a right angle triangle. This could be my C side, my A side, and my B side. And we could do Pythagorean theorem to find what that missing side is. So C squared equals 12 squared plus 5 squared, which equals 144 plus 25. I'll write it down. It'll be painful. I'll write it down here. And that's going to equal 169. And that's C squared. So now to get the opposite of a square is the square root. Square root both sides. C is going to equal, what is it, 13. Right? Trust. Where'd my calculator go on this one? All right, let's make sure about that. Squared 169. Good. So that's going to be our C side. Now we know that's 13. So the way I think about this is you have, let's mark these. I have 2 of these triangles, so 2 of those rectangles, 1 of those, and 2 of these. So let's start with this. So this is going to be length times width, right? And this is 13 times 5. 13 times 15. So 13 times 15 equals 208. 208, and I have 2 of those, right? So I'm going to times that by 2. So 416. Not just a cool place to live, but an answer to a math question. Then we have 1 blue one. Let's dot that one blue. The 1 blue one, we have length times width again. And that is going to be, what's the shape of that one? That's 10 times 15. 10 times 15, which is going to equal 150. There's only 1 of those. Then we have our triangles, which is half base times height. Let's dot those green for lack of a better term here. Here's your green. And so half times the base is 10 and the height is 12. So 120, 10 times 12 is 120, divide that by 2. It's going to give us 60. And we have 2 of these, right? Let's move that answer up. So the answer is going to be 60, but we have 2 of those triangles. So the answer here is going to be 120. And to get the total, we're going to add all those up. So 400, 500, 600 plus 50 plus 20 is 70, 80, 86. Meters squared. That's 13. Okay. Now the surface area for this, we have the radius is this. And we know the surface area formula equals pi 4 pi r squared. So equals 4 times pi times 8 squared. So going to equal, let's go over my calculator, 4 times pi times 8 squared equals, and I know that Laura / Colby / Frankie already has this written down, it's 804 centimeters squared. Good. So you guys pause it here, and I want you to work on these two. Okay, so if we take a look at this first one, we have, if we take a look at the measurements here, our length is going to equal 10, our width is going to equal 4, and our height is going to equal 4. All right, I'm going to type this in so it might be a little bit simpler. Change it, get our font shrunken up here. So, surface area is going to equal 2 times width height plus length width plus length height. So you're pretty much doing is you're taking this side, and the bottom, and you're going to times by 2 because this side has a partner on the back side, this part has a partner on the other end, the bottom has a partner up top. So let's plug in our numbers. And it's nice to write down what everything means because I'm going to leave the surface area out because hopefully this will do my math for me. All right. So 2 times my width is 4, and then my height is 4. And if you have this all written out, you can just look up at it right now. So as I look up, I know this is 10, that's 4. I'm going to add on another 10, another 4, and hopefully, if I press spacebar here, it's going to punch out the exact number of 192. Well, it didn't. What do you know? So, if we do all this calculation here, it'll pop out as 192 centimeters squared. Okay. Marker out. Good. And that being our width and height and everything. All right, so let's take the bottom one here. So we have to figure out what form we're going to need. The formula was surface area equals pi rs plus pi r squared. So what do we know here? We know the whole diameter here is 14. So if the diameter equals 14, our radius is going to equal 7. Now we know the height here is 24. So if we look through here, we know what pi is. We know what our radius is. What's this S thing hanging around here? The S is the slant of this. And we don't need height, but we can use that height to make a triangle here, a nicely drawn 90-degree triangle, to find what the slant is. So I'll scroll down here and we'll do our calculation for slant. So if we look in triangle here, Pythagorean theorem, we can name this C if we're comfortable with that. So C squared is going to equal, that's an A squared plus B squared. Right? Now, we know our radius is 7, so that's going to be our A, and we know the height is 24. If we plug that into our calculators, we get 625. 625. C squared equals that. So to get the opposite of a square, we square root. C equals 25. So now we know what C equals. In that case, we know what slant equals. So our slant equals 25. So let's start plugging everything in here. And of course, I don't have a symbol, I believe, for pi. So I'm just going to write 3.14 times our radius, which is 7, times our slant, which is 25, plus pi, which is 3.14, times our radius, which is 7, and we will square that. So I know that my surface area altogether, if I run those numbers, is going to be 703.7 millimeters squared. And let's get lazy with this one and just draw. Write it in there. Surface area equals. There we go. 2 more questions left. And then I can give you your nice holiday homework. So we're going on to optimizing rectangles. Ferd is back. Ferd has a lot of time on his hands. So Ferd has 400 meters of fencing that can use a fence in a garden against a shed. What are the dimensions give him the maximum area? So if we remember back, if we have a shape like this, the best shape we get is with a width here, and a length that is twice our width, right? Because it's against a shed here. So what's the maximum dimension that goes to the maximum area? So let's find out what one width is, right? So if we were creating a box, we would have a W, a W, a W, and a W, 4 widths. So we can take that 400, and if we were making a box, we would divide it by 4. Divided by 4, which is going to equal 100. Which tells me if I was making a box, one width would be 100 meters. So that equals W. Now if we take a look at our box right now, we have one width here, so that's going to be 100. One width over here, so that's going to be 100. And we have 2 widths. So 2 times W is going to be 200. So there are our best dimensions to get the largest area possible. So pause her up, and away we go. Ferd either has too much fencing or too many animals, and he's building another fence. Same idea. 3-sided. So we have a width, and a 2 width. And this time we have 280 meters of fence. Right? If we think back to our box, we would get 4 W's out of this. So let's divide this number by 4. And that is going to equal 70, I believe, but let's check my calculator before I make a mistake. And that equals 70. So one width equals 70. That is a horrible W. Take that away. Good. So that will now equal, if I go here and make my shed over again, if I have one width on this side, it's going to be 70. If I have one width on this side, it's going to be 70. And if I have 2 widths, 2 times 70 is 140. Right, on to our last question. A container has a surface area 300 centimeters square. What's the highest volume that it can contain? So this is kind of combining optimization and now prisms. So if we think back, the optimal space, two-dimensional, was a square. So if we think three-dimensional, the optimal space will be a cube, right? So we're going to make a cube here. And if I could draw a cube, I'd be much better at art. But I can't. So that's why I don't like art. So if you think about here, a cube will have the same sides all the way around, right? So a width and a length will all be equal all the way around. And if you unfurl this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, right? So the surface area of the cube is going to be length times width of one side, right? So length times width. And since all the sides of the cube are the same, it's going to be 6 length times width. But we also know length and width are the same. So that's a 6, not a B. So let's rename this. Length equals width. So let's rename them S for sides. Okay. Equals, so length times width, or S times S. S times S is going to be S squared. Right? So we can kind of have our formula here. Our surface area, and what did I do there? I have no clue. Surface area equals 6s squared. And we know our surface area is 300. Equals 6. I'm going to make a 6 here that looks like 6 one day. 6x squared. So now, to get rid of the 6, we divide by 6. These will cancel out. Equals 50. S squared. So how do we get rid of a square? We take the square root of it. So S is going to equal 7.1. Right? So then we take a look at the formula for volume. So volume of a cube is length times width times height. Length, width, height. And we know a side is equal to all this, right? It's because it's a perfect cube. The length is going to equal 7.1. The width is going to be 7.1. And the height is going to be 7.1. So let's just rename that S cubed, right? Because it's going to be 7.1 times 7.1 times 7.1. So we write 7.1 cubed. And then you're going to do it 3 times. So the volume of that shape is going to be 357.9, so let's go to 358 centimeters cubed. Right. If you wanted to go from here to 7.1 times 7.1 times 7.1, that's also fair to say. You'll get the same answer down here. Okay. Away you go. You guys work on this. Pause her up, and I'll be right back. So a container has a volume of 512. What is the smallest possible surface area? So we're working the exact opposite way as we did in the previous question because we're going from volume to surface area. So if we take a look at the equation next to us here, volume equals length times width times height. And we know the optimization of a area is going to be a square. So we can go volume equals S cubed because we know that all these are going to be the same. So volume equals S cubed. Now we know that the volume is 512 equals S cubed. Now just as the opposite of a square was a square root, the opposite of a cubed is the cubed root. And you'll find it on your calculator because it'll have a 3 right here. So we're finding out what number times itself 3 times equals 512. And you might also have something that looks like this. Sometimes it's X, like this. So you have to hit the button 3, then hit that button, and then hit your number. In this case, you type in 512. So the third root is 8. That would be centimeters. So 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. Then if we go back over here and we say, okay, what's the formula for surface area of a perfect cube? Is going to be length times width times 6, or 6 times s squared. Right? So surface area equals 6. Are we going to get a 6 that looks like a 6? Sorry, not s squared, my fault. S cubed. Oh no, I was right the first time. S squared. I found my error. No boss for anyone. So we know that our side is 8. So we're going to go 8 squared. So we're going to do that first. It's going to be 6 times 64, which equals 384 centimeters squared. There we go. So your homework is going to be the front page of your practice test. So you can see there's 3 pages of I do, you do. Then the very back there's a practice test. So you're going to do questions 1 through 9. So I'll put this in red for your homework. Questions 1 through 9. Let's do this upright. Someone will say they didn't see it. Questions 1 through 9, practice test. All right. Now you have time to work on that. Have a great weekend, and I will see you Tuesday. All right. Have a good night.